If you're hearing this, you deserve to know what happened out there. I don't care who you are, podcaster, journalist, or some midnight thrill seeker scrolling through cryptid forums, just listen. And if you're anywhere near northern Michigan, near the Huron-Manistee Forest, turn your truck around. Don't stop to look. Don't camp. Don't even breathe the air too long. Because if the woods go silent, it's already watching you. We were sent in under a cover story that made sense on paper. Predator control operation. That's what the order said. Wolves had supposedly attacked a research outpost. 2 missing biologists, torn up camp, half-eaten deer carcasses. Standard wilderness cleanup, or so they told us. The briefing lasted 12 minutes. The colonel never made eye contact. He didn't have to. Echo 6 didn't ask questions. We were the kind of unit that got sent where maps ended and excuses began. It was early December when we deployed. Snow came down like sifted ash, the kind of cold that gets inside your lungs and stays there. I still remember the hum of the transport's engine cutting off, and how quick the silence swallowed it. That's what I can't forget, the silence. No wind, no distant crows, not even the usual crack of trees freezing in the night. Just the kind of quiet that makes your pulse sound too loud. We set up base 2 miles east of Avery Lake. 7 of us, plus our tech specialist Nash and our team lead, Captain Dunn. I'd served under Dunn before, tough man, but fair. The type who'd walk into hell first if it meant bringing his men out alive. He looked uneasy this time, though. I caught him scanning the tree line before sundown, jaw locked, like he'd heard something I hadn't. We moved through the first night using NVGs, night vision goggles, painted green ghosts flickering in the snow. Our rifles were suppressed, standard issue M4s with red dot sights. I remember how the snow crunched underfoot and how our breath steamed through the balaclavas. It was routine until Nash stopped mid-step. "Captain," he whispered, "you hear that?" We all froze. The forest was dead still. Then came a sound I'll never forget. A low, rumbling growl that didn't belong to anything I'd ever heard. Not close, not far, just everywhere. The way thunder sounds when it's underground. Dunn motioned for silence. We switched to thermal optics, scanning between the trees. Nothing. The reading spiked for a second. Something massive, but it vanished. Could have been equipment interference, I told myself. Could have been a bear, but I knew that was a lie. Bears don't move that fast. By dawn, the fog rolled in thick, blinding white that wrapped around the trunks like smoke. I walked perimeter duty and found tracks in the snow. Not wolf, not human. Something in between. Long, narrow, with digits that ended in points, claws, and deep enough to mean serious weight. I called Dunn over. He didn't say a word. He just crouched, touched one of the prints, and shook his head slowly. We moved camp before nightfall, deeper into the woods, against my gut feeling. Our comms kept crackling with static even on short range. Nash couldn't explain it. Like interference, he said. But there's no signal out here to interfere with. It was around then that we noticed the claw marks. They were carved into birch trunks, 7, maybe 8 feet off the ground. Parallel, clean, deep. Too uniform to be from an animal fight. We followed a line of them until they stopped abruptly, right at a clearing. In the center, half buried under ice, was the carcass of a deer. Its head was missing. What was left looked arranged, deliberate. Dunn ordered us back. That night, I couldn't sleep. None of us could. The forest around us had gone quiet again, suffocatingly quiet. No wind through the pines, no snowflakes tapping the tarp. Just breathing the men's and something else. I swear I heard it pacing outside camp, slow and heavy. I gripped my rifle until my hands went numb. Every so often, I caught glimpses between the branches, a shadow, a shape upright but hunched, like a man trying to remember how to stand. By 0200, we lost motion sensor 3. Nash checked the feed. Nothing. Just black static and a high-pitched whine that made my teeth ache. Then came the radio burst. "Point man down!" And gunfire snapped the silence in half. We rushed out, forming a defensive line, scanning with NVGs. The snow was shredded, the tree line shaking. I saw flashes of movement, too fast to track. Then the screaming stopped. When we found Alvarez's post, there was blood. A lot of it. His rifle was snapped clean in 2, his body gone. No drag marks, no sign of struggle beyond the chaos of clawed snow. Nash went pale, mumbling something about heat signatures. I took his tablet. What I saw froze me worse than the cold. For one frame, barely a second, something had appeared in thermal. a silhouette too large for any man, standing upright, head tilted, eyes glowing white-hot. And it wasn't retreating, it was staring straight into the lens. We fell back to camp. No one said a word. Dunn was on the radio for hours trying to reach command. Static, just static. It felt like the forest had swallowed the signal whole. The fog thickened again, pressing against the tents like wet cloth. I remember Dunn pacing, muttering under his breath, "They sent us to die here." He might have been right. At dawn, I took watch alone. The sky was a gray bruise, no sunlight breaking through. I walked the perimeter again and found fresh tracks, ours crisscrossing with theirs. They'd been inside the line sometime in the night. My breath came out ragged. I counted 7 distinct sets of prints. 7. And that's when I realized something was wrong with the snow. The prints weren't pressed down, they were raised, like whatever made them wasn't standing on the snow but beneath it. I backed up slowly, scanning the trees. Something flickered past my peripheral vision. Tall, black against the fog. I turned, nothing. Just endless trees fading into white. I remember whispering to myself, "We're not alone out here." That's when the radio crackled again, faint, a voice cutting through. "If it goes quiet, run." We never figured out who said it. Could have been Alvarez. Could have been something mimicking him. By nightfall, we'd stopped pretending this was a standard op. Dunn gathered us around the heater, the flicker of flame painting haunted faces. "We hold here till extraction," he said. His voice was steady, but his eyes, they weren't. Something thudded outside, close enough to make the heater rattle. Then came a low, guttural breathing. Every man's hand went to his rifle. Dunn raised a finger for silence, and we listened. The breathing stopped. Then, a scratching noise, slow, deliberate, on the tent wall. Like nails dragging down canvas. I swear I could hear it inhaling, scenting us. We burst out, rifles ready, lights sweeping the fog. Nothing. Just claw marks freshly etched into the snow, circling the tents. That's when Nash screamed. He was pointing into the tree line. Through the mist, maybe 20 yards out, stood a figure, too big to be human. Broad shoulders, a narrow waist, the head tilted unnaturally to the side. I couldn't see its face, only the glint of eyeshine, amber, reflective, and wrong. Dunn fired a warning shot. The sound barely echoed before the fog ate it. The figure didn't move. It just lowered itself slowly the way a wolf does before it lunges. Then it was gone, not retreating, just gone. We held position till dawn, not daring to sleep. When light finally returned, the forest seemed different. Emptier somehow, but heavy, as if it was holding its breath. Dunn ordered us to pack up and move. None of us argued. Before leaving, I looked back at our camp one last time. The claw marks on the tent had multiplied overnight. They formed a pattern I didn't recognize. Some kind of spiral burned into the fabric. That was the morning I started to believe we weren't meant to leave. As we hiked out, the forest grew darker though the sun was rising. The trees closed in tighter, branches like black ribs. Snow fell heavier. The static in our radios returned, louder now, rhythmic, almost like breathing. Nash tried to tune it out, but then, faint beneath the noise, a voice whispered, "You're in our woods." He dropped the radio like it burned him. We didn't speak again for hours. Just kept moving, boots sinking deep, each step heavier than the last. The air stank, wet fur, blood, and rot. I caught glimpses again between the trunks. Shapes pacing us low and fast, sometimes upright, sometimes crawling, always just out of sight. When we reached the ridge overlooking the frozen lake, Dunn stopped. His voice cracked for the first time. "We're being herded," he said. "They're driving us." No one argued. We just stood there staring at the tree line that never seemed to end. I remember looking back once more and seeing movement, something huge standing at the edge of the clearing, half shrouded by mist. It didn't chase us. It didn't need to. It knew exactly where we were going. Even now, when I close my eyes, I can still see that forest. The fog swallowing the light. The snow glowing faintly green through night vision. The silence pressing against my eardrums like deep water. They called us hunters. But out there, under that endless gray sky, surrounded by trees older than memory, it felt like we were the ones being hunted, and I keep asking myself, even now after all these years, if we were the hunters, why did it feel like the forest was waiting for us?
The snow had changed by morning. It was no longer soft and white. It was streaked with rust-colored stains that glimmered faintly under the pale sun. We didn't talk about it. We just packed up camp and moved east, deeper into the forest. The tracks were still there, wide and deliberate, as if whatever made them wanted us to follow. Dunn walked point, scanning the tree-line through his scope. Nash trailed with the thermal, muttering under his breath about residual heat signatures, some too high to be from animals, some too brief to make sense. The rest of us walked in two files, rifles raised, boots crunching through the snow in a rhythm that felt too loud. Everything else was quiet, too quiet. At 1,100 hours, we reached a frozen clearing. There, hanging from the lowest branch of a pine tree, was what used to be a deer. Its body was shredded open, ribs spread like fingers, the meat peeled back as if something had studied it before losing interest. What chilled me most wasn't the blood. It was how the carcass was hung. 10 feet high. Wolves don't climb. Bears don't hang trophies. Jesus, murmured Hale, one of our youngest. His breath trembled in the air. Secure perimeter, Dunn ordered, his voice sharp, but I could hear the unease. We fanned out. The forest pressed close, black shapes layered between the snow-white trunks. Nash checked the body. Clean cuts, he said, touching a gash that ran along the spine. Like blades, but curved. Multiple entry angles. Whatever did this wasn't feeding, it was playing. Dunn shot him a look. Enough. We moved on, silent again, but the forest wasn't. Every now and then, there'd be a sound. A branch snapping too far off to be ours, or the flutter of something big moving above the canopy. You'd look up, but nothing would be there. Around 1400, we found the helmet. It lay half buried in the snow beside a creek. Standard issue, Army markings, serial number filed off. The back of it was crushed inward, like it had been bitten or slammed against stone. No blood inside, just a few strands of dark hair and something else, gray, coarse fur caught in the dent. Nash bagged it. None of us spoke. By nightfall, we were 5 miles from the lake, moving along a narrow ridge. Wind screamed between the trees, carrying snow like shards of glass. Visibility dropped to 30 yards. The radios kept popping with static. Echo 6 check in, Dunn said. Echo 3 all green, Hale replied. Echo 4 copy. Then silence. Echo 5 respond, Dunn said again. Nothing. He signaled for a stop, raised a fist. We crouched low, eyes scanning the fog. Hale pointed to something half buried in the snow, a footprint. Only it wasn't one print. It started human, boot-shaped, then stretched, toes elongating, impressions splitting into claw marks. Mid-stride, it became something else entirely. Christ almighty, Hale whispered. Nash lifted the thermal scope. Heat's still fresh, he muttered. Whatever it is, it's moving fast. Really fast. How fast? Dunn asked. Too fast. We pressed on, rifles raised, tension thrumming through every step. The snow was falling heavier now, swallowing sound. My breath fogged the NVG lenses. Then, through the radio, faint but distinct, a voice whispered, "Don't move." Who said that? Dunn snapped. No one answered. Then static hissed, loud and sharp, before cutting to silence. That's when Hale pointed his rifle upslope. "Movement," he shouted. I swung around, night vision scanning the ridge. For half a second I saw it. A blur of heat, too tall, sprinting on all fours before standing upright. The shape vanished into the fog. The thermal readings spiked red, then went black. Eyes on. Dunn barked. Lost visual. I shouted back. Something whistled through the air, a high-pitched screech. Not animal, not mechanical. It made the fillings of my teeth vibrate. Then Hale screamed. I turned, saw his rifle hit the snow, and then he was gone. Just gone. One moment he was there, and the next, something had yanked him backward into the dark. His flashlight spun across the ground, catching a smear of red before going out. Contact! Contact! I shouted, firing bursts into the tree-line. The gunfire lit up the fog, flashes revealing glimpses of movement, something big and fast, weaving between trunks. Dunn's voice barked orders. Hold your line. Check your flanks. But all blurred together under the roar of panic. Nash was breathing hard beside me, scanning with the thermal. "It's behind us," he yelled. We turned, nothing. Just trees. Snow. Then a low growl, deep enough to rattle your chest cavity. I felt it more than heard it. The growl moved left, then right, circling. Dunn threw a flare. It hissed as it hit the snow, casting red light through the fog. For an instant, I saw a silhouette standing upright about 30 yards out, broad shoulders, long arms, head tilted down. Steam rose from its body, glowing crimson in the flare's reflection. It didn't charge. It just watched. "Light it up," Dunn yelled. We opened fire, the flare flickering with every muzzle flash. Bullets chewed bark, tore through branches, but the shape didn't fall. It vanished again, like smoke swallowed by wind. The forest went still. Completely still. We stood panting, rifles trembling in our hands, waiting for the next sound. But there was nothing. Even the wind seemed to die. Then, faintly, the radio came alive. Hale's voice. "Help, please." I froze. His channel had gone dead 20 minutes ago. "Hale, what's your position?" Dunn demanded. Static. Then, in that same strangled voice, "They're above you." We looked up. I don't know what I expected, maybe nothing. But there, clinging to the thick limbs above us, was something the size of a man but shaped wrong. Arms too long, legs bent backward. It dropped like a stone. Dunn screamed for us to move. We scattered. The thing hit the snow where we'd stood, sending a shock through the ground. It moved with impossible speed, knocking Nash off his feet. I fired until the magazine clicked dry, saw it recoil, then vanish back into the trees. Nash was bleeding, his vest slashed open. "It hit me, did you see it?" he gasped. I didn't answer. I couldn't. My hands were shaking too bad to reload. Dunn grabbed Nash, hauled him up. "We're falling back. Move." We ran through the dark, stumbling over roots and drifts, breath tearing our lungs. The forest closed around us, branches clawing at our faces. Behind us came the sound of pursuit, heavy, rhythmic, and fast. Too fast. I tripped, went down hard, rifle skidding away. Dunn stopped, turned to cover me. For one instant, I saw it again under the NVGs, tall, black, gliding between trees with inhuman grace. It wasn't chasing to kill. It was hurting us, driving us deeper. We made it to the creek and dove behind a fallen log. Dunn checked the radio again, dead. Nash was slumped against a tree, eyes wide, whispering nonsense. I peeked over the log and scanned the fog. Nothing. Just snow. Then movement, something rising slowly from the creek, water cascading off from matted with ice. Its head was canine but stretched, elongated, with teeth that flashed white even in the dark. Its chest rose and fell, slow and deliberate. It was standing upright. My body went cold. Dunn raised his rifle, fired. The shots echoed, then were swallowed by the storm. The creature didn't fall. It just turned its head toward us, like it was studying prey too small to bother with. Then, without sound, it sank back into the fog. By the third morning, none of us believed we'd make it out. The snow had stopped falling, but the forest seemed to close tighter, branches bending under the weight of silence. The air was sharp, metallic, like the moment before lightning strikes. We buried Nash under a cairn of stones, though none of us said a word over him. It didn't feel like a burial. It felt like an apology. When we returned to camp, we froze. Hale's gear, the man who'd vanished, was back. Helmet, rifle, vest, even his dog tags, all arranged neatly in a perfect circle beside the fire pit. There was no blood, no footprints around it, not even a drag mark in the snow. It looked like someone had laid them down one by one with surgical precision. Dunn didn't speak for a long time. He just stood there staring, his breath shallow, eyes darting between the trees. "Someone screwing with us," he finally muttered. "Some sick local or—" He didn't finish the thought. None of us wanted to. The night that followed was worse than the attack. The forest seemed alive, not with sound, but with awareness. Every time a branch creaked, I'd spin with my rifle ready. Every whisper of wind sounded like breathing. We barely slept. When I did drift off, I dreamed of Hale's voice whispering from the dark, "It's behind you." Dunn's face grew gaunter with every hour. His eyes were bloodshot, His voice clipped. He started pacing around camp in loops, muttering under his breath. "We hold position till command calls," he kept saying, but his radio hadn't picked up a signal in 2 days. Hale's dog tags clinked on the log beside him. He hadn't moved them. By the 4th day, food was low and morale lower. Winters like this, hunger doesn't grow gradually. It hits you like a hammer. But it wasn't the hunger that gnawed at us. It was doubt. Hale's gear felt like a warning, and Nash's body, buried under ice, felt like bait. We followed the creek south, hoping to find higher ground or a signal. That's when we saw the smoke. A single thread rising between the pines, thin and gray, carried sideways by the wind. Dunn motioned forward. We approached cautiously, rifles raised. The structure emerged slowly, a ranger station, half collapsed and blackened by fire. The roof had caved in, windows shattered, but the walls still stood. Steel doors twisted from heat bore 5 deep claw marks, carved clean through the metal. Hale exhaled, trembling. "How strong do you have to be to do that?" We entered in silence. The smell hit first, ash, rot, old oil. Inside, there were signs of a fight. Overturned chairs, a splintered table, and dried blood smeared across the walls in looping patterns that almost looked like writing. I touched one streak with my glove. It was old, maybe months, but something about the patterns made my skin crawl. We searched for anything usable, maps, radios, supplies, but found only empty tins and a half-burned journal. The words inside were nearly illegible, but one phrase was scrawled over and over. Asterisk, the forest listens. Asterisk. Then we heard the cough. Faint, rasping, from somewhere behind the collapsed doorway. We raised our rifles immediately. "Hold your fire," came a voice, hoarse and old. "If I wanted you dead, you'd already be dead." He stepped into the light, gaunt as bone and wrapped in layers of mismatched winter gear. His beard was silver, eyes sharp beneath the grime. He carried an old hunting rifle with the barrel sawed short and a necklace made of teeth, human and animal both. "Who the hell are you?" Dunn demanded. The old man looked us over like he was measuring graves. "Name's Hollis. Used to be Forest Service, back before they stopped sending rangers out here. You're soldiers, right?" "Echo 6. Special Operations," Dunn said cautiously. "We're tracking a predator. Multiple casualties." Hollis barked a laugh, a dry, humorless sound. "Predator? Boy, you're not hunting an animal." He tapped the claw marks on the steel door. "You think a bear does that? Or a wolf? No. What you're chasing, it's older than both." Dunn frowned. "What do you know about it?" The old man leaned against the doorframe, breath wheezing. "I've seen them. We called them Dogmen. Heard the stories all my life. Thought they were myths. Then one night, my partner went missing. Next morning, his badge and boots were lined up neat as pews outside my cabin." His eyes flicked to us. "Sound familiar?" No one answered. He nodded, as if we confirmed everything he needed. "They don't like trespassers. They don't leave their territory. And if they bring something back," his voice softened, "it means you've already been chosen." Hale shifted uneasily. "Chosen for what?" "To die slow," Hollis said. We followed him into the back room, where maps were nailed to the wall. Most were decades old, yellowed and brittle, but one was newer, marked with charcoal lines and circles. The largest circle was drawn around our position. Hollis traced it with a finger. "That's where they hunt. Locals call it the Silent Forest. You can walk for hours and not hear a damn thing, not even your own breath. It's not natural quiet. It's them. When they hunt, everything shuts up. Birds, bugs, the wind itself. If it goes quiet, you run." He turned toward us. "You don't find dogmen. They find you." The weight of his words settled heavy. Dunn stared at the map, jaw tight. "We're not running," he said. "We finished the mission." Hollis gave him a look of pity. "That's what every tough bastard says right before their bones in the snow." He gave us supplies, old flares, jerky, a flare gun with one shell left. Then he pointed toward the east ridge. "There's a trail that leads out. Don't take it at night." We left him there, though I couldn't shake the feeling he wanted us gone not to save us, but to save himself. The forest grew darker as we hiked. The light seemed to die faster between the trees, as if the shadows were drinking it. Hale started mumbling to himself, whispering prayers under his breath. At first, I ignored it. Then I realized he wasn't praying. He was answering someone. "Hale," I said quietly, falling into step beside him. "Who are you talking to?" He didn't meet my eyes. "She says we shouldn't have touched the map." He looked past me, into the trees. The one following us. I froze. The others kept walking, their shapes swallowed by fog. Hale smiled faintly, eyes glassy. "You don't hear her? She's right there." A snap echoed through the forest, loud as a gunshot. We turned, rifles raised, but there was nothing. Just the white, endless expanse of snow. We regrouped quickly. Dunn was shouting at Hale, demanding answers, but Hale just kept staring into the woods, whispering, "She's close now." We marched until dusk. The sky turned the color of bruised steel, and the wind carried a low hum that felt almost like voices. We stopped to rest, but no one spoke. Even the sound of our own breathing seemed too loud. Then the forest went still. Completely. The wind died. The trees stopped creaking. Even the snowflakes hung motionless, suspended in the air. Dunn raised his hand, signaling halt, but the motion was too late. The quiet wasn't just around us, it was inside us. My ears rang with nothingness. The pressure built, like being buried underwater. Hale's mouth moved, but no sound came out. I felt my heart hammering, so hard I could hear the blood in my skull. Then, from somewhere deep in that silence, came a single sound. A breath. Not ours. Slow. Wet. Behind us. And when I turned, every instinct I had left screamed one thing: run.